We're live.
We are live. Good morning, everybody, or afternoon, wherever you are.
Morning. Still having my coffee.
Give it a minute for all the notifications to be received.
Yep, 11 a.m. here, so still drinking my coffee.
Mm-hmm. Hey there, Milk and Honey Heritage Farms. Journey along with Shannon. Glad to see you.
Hey.
Mickelson Family Homestead, Little House in the Big Woods. Hello, everybody.
Hey.
Thank you all for joining us.
I'm just waiting for the notification to go out. Yeah, and if I look down, I'm on my phone because it's easier to look at the chat on my phone.
Yes, I'm so glad I got my computer working this week, too.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So last week's live, my computer, I was having to look down because I was looking at my phone and I was looking down at the laptop. So kind of the reverse, but my laptop was just showing a black screen. So if this ever happens to anybody, you go into a live and you just get a black screen, clean your camera. That's what I had to do.
Hey, I will laugh and take something as easy as that over a million other things.
Yep.
Hey, Tiny Tim Posey, welcome in.
Hey there, Tiny Tim Posey. Good to see you. Yeah, I was pretty happy that it worked. I was like, no.
Hey, my Renaissance grandma.
Good morning. Or
morning,
afternoon.
evening.
It feels like morning to me. Here in the Ozarks, we have a lot of rain outside, so it's very overcast. Started raining yesterday, and it has not stopped raining. So I know, right, Lisa? Like, I don't know how it is where you are, but you and I had very similar environments when we were in northern Arizona. And it never rained that long. Like, you get a little bit of rain and it goes away. It's the craziest thing ever. It's still raining.
Yeah, it's funny because like when it rains here, when I was working, and we'd have a thunderstorm. Well, Rapid City would get more rain than we would, but when it would rain, I'd be like, "Oh, rain! What a novel concept in South Dakota."
Yeah.
But we had Little House in the Big Woods, so they got 3 inches of snow. They had snow north of us. We got some flurries. We've had 2 flurries. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing really on the ground. But yesterday, I should go back. We've had a warmer fall than normal. We went into September in the 90s, which is unheard of.
Mm-hmm.
Blah, 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 fast forward, which was nice because we only had to heat a couple nights and then stop. The long story short, it was like in the 60s on Sunday, upper 60s. And guess what? We had a wind chill of 17 yesterday. And I'll be honest, I'm paralyzed, not moving when it's that cold.
Yeah. Shuffling.
Today we're at 31, I think.
Mm-hmm. We're at so Gear Grid, and I think he's in this area also somewhere. Good morning. Darn, I gotta quit saying that. Hello. But it's 46 degrees here where we are, 45 where he's at, and I'm trying to remember if he's in Missouri or where he is, but I think he's somewhere.
Or Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
And that's cool. Where is Little House in the Big Woods?
I think, are you guys in Montana or like the Michigan Peninsula or something like that? I know they're north. Share with us in the chat because I can't remember where you guys are. It is so beautiful. It is so beautiful. It reminds me of like Flagstaff, like the Pines, kind of like you guys, Lisa, where you are too.
Yeah, I've been watching everybody with all the fall colors, and originally I come from New York and what you call it? New England.
Missouri. Tiny Tim Posey, we did. It was if you were to look at our about page today, because I haven't updated it yet, I'm slacking. Hey there, RG. Thank you for coming in. If you look at our about page, and hi Cottonwood Ranch, you'll see that it says that we're looking, that was one of our goals. So we actually moved, Tim, and we're in Missouri. So we were looking at Arkansas. Arkansas is beautiful.
The famous candy store. I think that I stay at a hotel next to them. It's like we find it to be our halfway, or we found it to be our halfway point when we were moving from North Carolina.
Uh-huh.
So anytime we make that trip back to North Carolina, it's we stop at this hotel, and the reason why is because, number one, it's clean. Ryan found it on the way, and the other reason is we usually have a dog with us, and it's animal friendly, and it's really perfect. So it's right next to that famous store.
I'll have to look up that famous.
I think it is. I mean, it's next to this big souvenir store. I could be totally wrong because I don't know.
Yeah. Cool. And Milk and Honey. So you all are in Northwest Oregon. Oregon is so beautiful. It is so beautiful.
It really is. It really is. I've been to Washington. I've not been to Oregon.
When I was little, I think we lived in Northern California for like a year in Willow Creek, a little town up there that was gorgeous. I was little, but I remember it being very, very pretty. Hey there, Rob Painless. Thanks for hopping in.
Yeah. Hey, Cottonwood Ranch. Hey, everybody. I was waving when Mountain Grandma was talking because I didn't want to interrupt her. You want to know something funny? We had a wind chill of 17 degrees yesterday, and oh, okay. No, I don't think it's the same one. Gear Griden. But anyway, we had I chose not to, because the weather's still up and down, so I didn't want to make the changeover to our winter watering systems, which are all the heaters with the extension cords.
Yep.
Because like you said, we're really, really dry here. You were talking earlier about how it doesn't rain that long in Arizona. Well, it's funny because, I look at the weather for me, and we got 5 drops of rain the other day. Like that's what we get, like 5 and 10 drops. It doesn't even get the dirt wet half the time, right? So it's really funny because I didn't want to put the cords out because I've got to string them up and all. It's a whole thing. Well, I'll be doing it today. I'm kicking myself. I should have done it the other day, but that's a consequence of my decision. But Norman's got a bowl that's probably about this deep. And about that round, because he's a piglet. You don't want him to get in it and drown and all that. I think he's past that, but I just try to give him a little bit of water. Hey, Susie Jacobson. And it's really funny because his bowl was like frozen solid. And I was like, oh. So I'll be, and I'm really tempted to bring Norman in the house, even though I know he's fine. I don't know.
Don't you just want to? Oh my gosh, I would want to too.
My mentor told me that my house pig will find me, meaning that it'll have a reason why it needs to be a house pig.
Oh, I gotcha.
Like she had Ripley, Halbert Farm has Ripley, who's a house pig. She ended up having her fixed and everything because she was stepped on by her mom as a piglet and almost died. So,
oh my goodness.
So she's right. But Norman is our meat pig, and I still want to bring him inside. Hey, everybody coming in. Welcome in.
Yes. Hi there, Aidaneer, Susie Jacobson. Thank you all for joining us. I'm trying to post some links here.
I can do that. You don't need to do that.
We could both do it. Take turns.
You don't need to do that. Go ahead. You go ahead.
I'm definitely gonna post Little House in the Big Woods because I was trying to look for you all, your channel, Little House in the Big Woods, the other day. And boy, I had a heck of a time finding you. I had to go to a comment in order to find your channel when I put you guys in. I don't know if anybody else has had that problem finding Little House in the Big Woods.
Sometimes,
hey, Truth, good to see you.
Yep, sometimes that happens.
Yeah, sometimes a little trickier than other times. So thank you all for joining us. Last week we were talking about goals and preparing for those emergencies with our animals. And it was a great discussion, and we wanted to continue that discussion today. So that's our topic for today, and kind of how that aligns with our 7 F's of goal setting. And I will share what those are for anybody who hasn't seen them before. But like beginning of the year, when we outlined what we wanted to accomplish this year, we kind of did it with these 7 F's, and the whole thing about following the 7 F's and just kind of keeping these things in mind is that this is really, I don't know, I would challenge anybody to find another. Well, I was going to say find another F, but then we get all kinds of, I should maybe not say it that way.
I got one. Hey, Rita's Roost.
Oh my goodness. All right. So faith, family, friends, finance, fitness, fun, future. Like pretty much any goal that you put in place is going to fall into one of those areas. So if you kind of keep tabs on all of them, it's so easy to get out of balance. And that's something that I really struggle with, because I'll nerd out on something real bad and everything else will not happen except for the one thing that I'm trying to do.
Hey, Rich Cat Ranch.
Yeah. Hey there. And hi, Rita's Roost. Thank you all for joining. And Rita's Roost, Central Arkansas.
Whoop, whoop.
Yeah. Not far from us. Boy, I love it over here in this area. Oh my goodness. It's so fun, you guys. And hey there, Charles. Good to see you, Fallen Arkansas veterans. So anyways, with that, when we talk about preparing for our animals, geez, I don't know, a lot of us think of them as family. It definitely hits your finances. It definitely hits your future and even your friends. Like, I don't know about everyone else, but that's how we feel about our animals and just preparing for them. So here we are at, coming up on winter. It's the fall. We've been having some really cold weather. And Lisa, I know you were talking about some of the things that you do in preparation for that time period, because where it gets really cold. You have always been cold. You were colder than we were in northern Arizona. And you're still colder than where we are now. If you want to speak to, like, when you talk about, emergency preparedness, that can very much come in the winter if you're not prepared for that. So I'm just going to give you the floor.
Yeah. So, well, thank you. Yeah.
I'm taking notes.
I think it's actually, here's the thing. I think it's actually easier for us because overall we know it's going to be cold. Mm-hmm. Right. Whereas I think it was last year in Oklahoma and maybe some parts of Missouri, it was, colder than normal for longer than normal, if I'm remembering, because I just remember a lot of like homesteaders talking about icing and stuff like that, whereas they didn't normally have to worry about it. Whereas us, that's normal, Yep. So once we switch over, the water heaters go all winter. That's it. They're on a thermostat. They're built into each one has a thermostat. But for example, the pigs right now have tire inserts. They're called 16-quart tire feeders. Mm-hmm. And we use them as waterers because they don't knock them over. Mm-hmm. But for the past 2 days, that's all I've done is break ice out of them. Mm-hmm. And not just once or twice a day, like a few times a day or more, I'm out there breaking water. Wow. And so now it's time to get the metal trough hooked up, and all that. So I think our biggest, for us in this climate, we're at 5318 foot elevation. Mm-hmm. We are in zone 4B. We have a very short growing season, as most of you know, and we end up with more cold weather than we do warm. Mm-hmm. And so for last year, for example, we heated 9 months out of the year. Mm-hmm. We often have warmer days and then go into cooler nights because of the elevation. Mm-hmm. And so if you go anywhere about 20 minutes from us in most directions, you go out to the plains, it's 10 to 12 degrees warmer all year long, if not more.
Mm-hmm.
So hey there, Nordic Drip, Anita. And so one of the things that we do is, I think the biggest thing is for the animals is making sure they have fluid water, it's not frozen,
Mm-hmm.
making sure they have access to feed.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the pigs, if I give them feed, they'll eat it all and not have anything. But everybody else gets free fed. And then the pigs, when it's usually below 20 or in the teens, or we have a wind chill, the pigs get an extra meal per day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because to keep their body energy up.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is bedding. You know, like in Missouri, you could have shelters that don't have floors.
Mm-hmm.
You can have a 3-sided shelter. We technically have shelters that all have doors on them.
Mm-hmm.
In the event that we have an extreme snap where we have to keep everybody in buildings, we've not, the only time we've done that is with piglets.
Mm-hmm.
When Sherman came home, he had, what do you call it? Sherman came home on a Saturday night. We made it in one trip, and we woke up the next day to 18 inches of snow, and it was over his head.
Mm-hmm.
So Sherman was put in his barn as a piglet with food and water, and we just leave him there. Hey, Corner Clubhouse Cobalt 66, and yeah, Rob Painless, I agree. As an electrician, yeah. Well, one would think you would have already done that, but it's easy to not do the electricity at your house, right? Because that's our problem too.
Yeah.
We do the stuff for everybody else, but not for ourselves. So we have a backup plan of a generator. I realize it's not 100% ideal. The hard part for us in winter is drawing enough solar to keep water flowing. That's our hardest part. We've not found a way to do that yet. So we're sticking with electricity, and we have a generator. And that's the thing, because like we have solar lighting in all the barns, but those water heaters draw a lot of power, and we don't get enough sun in the winter like we do in the summer, and that's the problem we have. So we had thought about clear cutting the property this year. There was a lot we wanted to clear cut, but we've kind of got a possibility in the back of our heads for next year, and we don't know if we want to commit to that just yet. So we may wait a year on that. So, but that's our biggest problem is you know, we get a lot of sunny days in South Dakota, but in the wintertime, the way the sun comes up, it's really hard for us to get the solar draw. So we do the next best thing. I realize that in a SHTF situation, we may have an issue, and I get that. But we try to prep as much fuel as possible. You know, that would just mean at least it's got to go out and break out a lot of water more often, you know?
Yeah.
So, hey, Nicole Schaff.
Hi, Nicole.
So I don't know if that answers your question.
It does. I think you shared a lot of really good information, and that issue with the solar, like that's why I kept saying good morning. I mean, it's 12 o'clock where I'm at, and it's so, I mean, we have storms and things in northern Arizona. We did. And it just feels like morning time.
Yeah.
When it's overcast like that and you don't have the sun peek through. Hey, Hugo Homestead, and hey there, Life with Linda and Chuck. Thank you all for joining us.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And that's the thing. Like I'm trying to think of the right way to say this just in case somebody who's watching may know a little closer to us than we think. Let's just put it this way. We are really, really dry right now. Really dry.
Yeah.
Like burn ban dry, which has been for a long time. Hey, Garden State So-and-so. Love that name.
Me too. I do.
I love that name. Anyway, we have folks who live near us who like to burn no matter what. So it's a little nerve-wracking in the land of wildfire.
We had in northern Arizona. So before we moved here, our kids were off grid. When I say off, I want to say totally off grid, but none of us are really totally off grid. Cell phones. They did have, they had a cistern, so they hauled their water like we did. They had septic, but they were on solar and generator. So, when you got to charge solar, sometimes when it's a storm or something, you got to use that generator. Yep. And before we came here, that's kind of how they rolled. And so now we're not having to do that. But we've wondered, like, our plan there was electricity goes out. We all had a solar setup. And now I wondered, how good is that solar setup going to work here? We need to test it out, put our panels out there and see how many panels it takes to really pull any energy in. That's going to be kind of tricky.
I thought about getting a solar generator that's, large enough to do that. Because I think that's more of the way to go. Knock on wood, we're not an area where we lose power all the time. I've lived in Connecticut where we lost power routinely. North Carolina, it would be dry as can be. Sunny and beautiful in 70s, and we'd lose our power no reason. It's just crazy. We had a burn ban for the past about a week. With this rain, it should be lifted the next day. Yeah. Well, we're in the Black Hills Fire District, so you're not allowed to have an open fire in the Black Hills Fire District. We get like burn bans. I would get the solar generator. Absolutely. I'm looking into it. I just need to be able to justify it. It's one of those things I got to wrap my brain around because I've got some other plans going on. I wish we could get a hydrant closer to the barns, right? Because we've talked about our ideal setup and being ready for our animals in the winter is to have one barn for everybody. Hey, Shannon, Journey Along.
Oh, I've seen some beautiful barns too on YouTube. Some of our friends, they just got it going on.
Yeah, and so where I got Grant from is she has this setup. She has one huge barn for everybody, and everybody gets a stall, so to speak. And then she lets them out and they go out into their respective areas. And if it's really cold and snowy and they don't want to go out, they hang out in the barn. And ideally, we'd love to do that. I'm just not prepared to build a barn because, again, we've got some other plans we're thinking of. And but we'd even love a hydrant. And and the hydrant, if we get first of all, frost free, they still freeze. Well, here they do. But I'd have to blast because of the ledge that we have. So it's just not as easy as renting a ditch witch and putting in your own hydrant. You know what I mean? So that's why we use the gravity fed water, or we just switched over to the house water. But yesterday the hose is frozen.
We have out towards where the animals are. We have I don't know, it's kind of weird. So it's a pole that comes out of the ground and it's got this little handle on it that you lift up. And then the water comes out. You kind of have to hold it up and then you put it.
That's a hydrant.
Okay. That's the first time I saw one of those. That's a hydrant. That's what you're talking about.
Yes. They make them frost free and you have to get them down.
It is. So this one, it doesn't freeze up. Thank goodness. So we're pretty happy about that, but we want a hand pump well too. Our worry is because we're on well water, when the electric goes out, your well won't pump water. I don't know how you go about hooking that up. That would be my husband's forte there to the solar. So I don't know how he would do that, but
that's what we do that's why we have a generator, because all of the places we've lived, we've had well water. And so let me think, and we had it freeze one time in North Carolina,
Uh-huh.
but we had, the one place we had it hooked into the house was in Spruce Pine.
Mm-hmm.
It literally was just a switch, but other places we've not paid to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But we have several generators, and we've
Mm-hmm.
always had it for that reason, was for the
Yeah.
well if needed.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's quite honestly, it's more so that my animals have water.
Mm-hmm.
Because the reality of it is, local hospitals, when there's power outages, offer to let you shower and all that stuff, and I'm okay doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hey, Al Chap. But yeah, so I just, So what are some things you do for to figure out for your animals? Because I think water is a big one for animals.
Mm-hmm. Water's a big one. So we never used in northern Arizona, we never used anything to heat the water. At that time, the goats and the chickens were on my kids' property who were off grid. Remember, they didn't have electricity over there, and they ran into the same struggle as you. There wasn't enough solar to be able to heat them. They just had to go out there. So they warmed up the pipes to make sure that they filled their tanks on the trailer to make sure that they had some water, and they'd have to pull from there for the animals. But in Arizona, it's a little different because you would have your cold, and then the sun would come out and it would melt, any frozen lines or anything like that. Because that's what, as long as he made sure they didn't freeze between a small area of where that pipe was exposed, we didn't really have to worry about that. But they would have to fill and haul the water out to where the animals were.
Bye,
So it was
Tim
a little
Posey.
different.
Yeah.
Hey, Tim. Thanks for coming.
Yeah. And I agree. The frozen frost-free hydrants are garbage. I mean, we put in frost. Obviously, we have to have frost-free hose fittings outside, and they freeze.
Yeah.
We disconnect, drain the hose, lay it out flat.
Yeah.
I found the best thing for me, and I have got to give Monica over at Bland's Promised Land Ranch all the credit in the world, because the first year, 2 years ago, excuse me, Texas had that freeze. Monica had said to me, she says, you need to get one of those expandable hoses. And I was like, what are you talking about? She says, you got to get an expandable hose. Well, I went to Fleet Farm, got 4 of them on clearance, and they were heavy duty, Craftsman. I was going to say Sears and Roebuck. Craftsman. And I have it in a muck bucket. So literally in the wintertime, so I can reach the pigs, is I carry out the muck bucket, hook it up to the outside hydrant, not hydrant, the hose on the front of the house. Now that's if it's not frozen.
Yeah.
So sometimes I have to go out in the middle of the day to do water instead of in the evening when I do it. Because it's cold enough here. They don't need it as much then. But yeah, I mean, it's a pain, but it was life-changing.
Yeah.
But the one thing is Kelly, I don't know if you know this, excuse me, those expandable hoses will burst if the weather's cold enough. I have had several people tell me here in South Dakota that they blow up. So just be careful.
Oh my gosh.
Well, yeah, because it's cold.
Yeah. You guys get your own version of cold. It gets really cold there. And I think unless somebody is way up north, you guys get cold.
You want to know the ironic thing is that at Grain Bin Coop, Mariah's up in North Dakota by the Canadian border. And it's so wild because she was getting tons of rain the other day. And I'm like, we got
Where's
nothing.
ours?
Where's ours?
Yeah.
Yeah. We have a creek in the back of our property, but it is not, it's dry.
Yeah.
It's not.
There's a lot of dry creeks right now. One thing I was surprised at, and I'll just show this from Garden State so-and-so. So out of power for 9 days. My
Mm-hmm.
word. Which state is the Garden State? Is that
New
Michigan?
Jersey.
Oh, New Jersey. Okay. Thank you, Lisa.
I'm not trying to jinx you, Kelly. And Charlie, the snow, it just doesn't, I mean, it doesn't defrost quick enough. I could sit there and defrost it, but
Yeah.
like the animals will get snow in their water, but the
Mm-hmm.
problem is I have to clear snow out of it so they
Yeah.
can.
What we had to really worry about for us and the kids as well in the winter, because we got so much snow in northern Arizona. And I know that people don't realize that northern Arizona is like in the top 10 or 12 of places in the United States for their quantity of snow. We would get feet of snow, just a lot of snow. And what we would have to do is maintain the path. So that was one big chore, because where the kids is, they were living in a fifth wheel. It was a nice 2-bedroom fifth wheel. I mean, they had it going on in the fifth wheel. And then the goats, they were on an acre, and the goats and the chickens were towards the back of the property. So it was a good little walk out there. My daughter's the one who was, maintaining the animals. So it was keeping that path cleared that we had to focus on. And then for us, for the dogs, because we got little girlfriend who's, this tall.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the snow would exceed her height. But the snow, Charles, for us, and I think you're talking about help with watering the animals. We did rely on the snow to fill our lakes and things, and we're really hoping that we get snow this year to fill the pond we have on our property, because it's looking kind of low. But I think he's talking about watering animals.
Yeah. So you could I could put snow, let snow collect in a tote or shovel it into an IBC tote. And then I've got to keep a water heater to keep it fluid. So it's just an extra water heater. I mean, it's a good emergency plan. Absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I read a thing that rainwater isn't really good to be using.
Isn't that a
Like
shame?
For humans and animals, it's not really good to be using unless you're filtering it.
Yeah.
That's what I read. I mean, I use it on my garden, but.
Hey, Rob. So, channel update. And you're not late to the party, because it's been very new to us. But we moved from Arizona to Missouri. So you're correct on that.
Thanks, Al. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the biggest thing. They say that this winter is going to be awful.
Yeah.
I think it's just being prepared to make sure that the animals are getting checked on several times a day when it's really cold, not just cold weather, because they're used to that. But when we get down in the 20s, making sure everybody's okay, because the pigs are laying around. They don't want to go outside.
Yeah.
It's funny. The pigs follow like a cycle, right? The springtime comes and they're kicking up their heels and they're loving it because it's warmer, but it's not cold. Then it gets hot and the pigs are laying around again. And sometimes they're laying in their barns, they're laying in the cool mud, right? They're laying in their pools, and then fall comes. And they're kicking up their heels again because,
Yep.
Back to feeling good again. It's pig type weather because pigs don't sweat. And then it gets cold and they're back to pooping in their house.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to leave it.
Yep.
Charlie was asking you a question.
So Charles, we're more, I guess, central Missouri.
Hey, Twin Brook. No
And we're
worries at
loving
all.
it. I'm so excited for spring. I need to get garlic in the ground. I have time. And this is Rob Painless. We haven't been here long. Like, we're still counting weeks. Hey, Twin Brook Acres. Thank you for hopping in.
Good to know, Rob Painless. I've just been reading some things and I'm like, but yeah, we have access to where we can haul it. So
yeah, that is good to know. Hey there, Big Matt. Good to see you.
Yeah. Hey, Teresa Ellis. I don't blame you.
Oh my gosh, that's the worst part, right? And I've heard that Missouri gets really bad ice storms.
Sure.
So that's now, don't get me wrong, we had a lot of snow. And if it snowed when it started to warm up, you'd have this transition in the, in the snow you're walking on that you'd have to be careful because that layer underneath turns to ice. Um, so you really try to step in the snow, not the ice, right? But here, I guess it's ice storms. So that's going to be a new one, other than hail that we might get. And we get it like you, Lisa, like it'll come down, it'll be over in 15, 20 minutes, maybe. Right? I
Yeah.
don't know how yours is. That's how it was for us. We
For the
get,
hail?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it here, and then it goes and it turns into something else.
Yep.
Snow, rain, whatever, it turns into something else. But when I think of ice storms, that's what I think of. And I don't. They say freezing rain, and I don't quite. I guess really cold rain that hasn't. Is it slush? I don't know what. I don't know what that is. We'll have to see what it is. But we've hit black ice before on the road. Um, Teresa, and that is a horribly frightening thing. And I've been told where we're at, especially since it's so hilly here, just to not, you don't want to leave your house because, yeah, it's just too dangerous. You get down here and you won't be able to get back up, is kind of what I'm picturing. Um, that's cool, Aidenir. And my Renaissance grandma, ice storms, that's what I've heard. They're the worst. I'm guessing really cold and slushy rain, but I don't even know that I'm right about that. I don't know what an ice storm is. Lisa, do you?
Yeah. I mean, when we lived in North Carolina,
Mm-hmm.
we lived in Mitchell County and we lived in Buncombe County. So Buncombe is where Asheville is.
Mm-hmm.
Mitchell was more a Tennessee border county. And
Mm-hmm.
so there was more ice in Asheville. I mean, I remember it just being coated, everything being coated. And they're just not prepared to deal with it there.
Mm-hmm.
But I know Teresa Ellis was saying you can't see it. You can certainly hear it. You can, if you're listening, you can hear that. If someone taught me this, you can hear the difference between wet ground and black ice.
Huh. And she's saying freezing fog. What is that?
Yep.
What is that? What do you mean?
Freezes on the surface. Like
Huh.
we get hoarfrost here. It's that beautiful, beautiful
Mm-hmm.
looking frost and stuff like that. And yeah, no, Rob Painless, that's great. I will check it out. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
I just, like I said, I don't know enough about it. I don't have a desire to be off grid. I don't. I have a desire to be prepared and have
Yeah.
alternatives. I'm not off grid.
Mm-hmm.
It's the reality,
None
and
of
I'm on
us really
YouTube.
are.
And I'm on YouTube.
Right? Yeah. Studded snow. So all of our vehicles have 4-wheel drive because we learned that one
Yep.
a while ago, but studded snow tires. I will
Yep.
share that with the hubby. He is the tire guy. And you're in New Hampshire. I love the snow. It's that ice. I'm really
I
nervous.
do too.
Yes, and those mountain roads. That's what I'm talking about. Oh my
Yep.
word. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we lived in northwest corner of Connecticut, and had quite a few ice storms, quite a few blizzards, and all that. So we're used to
Mhm.
that. And driving in the snow doesn't bother me at all. I'm used
Yeah.
to it. I think what always bothered me was driving in the snow in states that were not prepared to deal with it, because
Yeah.
that's where it's harder. Like
Yeah.
Connecticut, New Hampshire, Maine, like they're all ready for taking care of snow. They're used to it. Um,
Hmm.
if you are, in North Carolina, they're not going to have the same budget as the states up north. South Dakota here, they are certainly taking care of the roads here. I mean,
Hmm.
I can tell you here, we have a snowstorm. By the end of the day, the roads are dry
Hmm.
because they're
Hmm. Yep.
on it because they prepare for it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You're not
Yep.
going to spend money on a budget where you don't need it.
Yep. That's good to know. Gear Gryden. Maybe we'll get some chains this first time around, especially since it's going to be here pretty soon. Um,
And where is Al
oh,
located?
Al, my back step. Where are you located at? somewhere cold.
And I just want to make sure I go get Rob Painless.
Fallen Arkansas veterans, Charles, email me and I'll share that with you. I still have to update my about page, guys.
What is wrong with you?
I,
You're not prepared. Bad goal lady. Canada. There we go. Newfoundland.
Oh, wow. Very cool.
Yep. Makes sense. Yeah, we usually get it too. It's just last year we did not get our moisture comes from our snow, our winter snow, and we did not get the snow that we were supposed to get. And now they're saying this year we're going to make up for it.
Yeah. My Renaissance grandma, you're in Missouri. This is really good info here that they
awesome.
are equipped and prepare for it. I love to hear that.
Yeah,
where we
awesome.
were in Arizona, and the main road nearest to our house was the road to the Grand Canyon. Like, you would think they would keep that one clear. It has holes. Anybody going to the Grand Canyon, let me warn you, make sure you have good tires because the road is awful.
Bye, Twin Brook.
Grand Canyon. But it would be like slush. You'd think they would get somebody out there to clear it, but Arizona, at least in the town of Williams, had a really tough time staying on top of their roads there. You kind of had to prepare just to be driving in it when you go there.
Yeah, and at Nordic Drip, I think part of the reason in New York is because of the amount of people that are there.
Yeah,
it's hard to get roads cleared with the amount of people, and then they're also using the Senate. Well, in the boroughs, they're using the sanitation department for clearing snow versus here where they actually have dedicated snow trucks.
Yeah.
Connecticut, they would also do contract.
I have a question. So when we're talking about, like, as you prepare for winter coming up, so this is like a whole nother little set of goals that you probably don't even think of them as goals anymore because it's routine for you to just make sure you have this stuff. Yep. And Lisa, for you, now we didn't have to worry so much about this in Arizona because of the fact, like I said, it snowed. We'd have 4 feet of snow. Well, not all at once snow, guys, after a couple of days of snow, not all at one time, but we could have 4 feet of snow that's on its way melting and plenty of sunny days before us. They might be cold sunny days, but they were sunny days. We could still get on the road. We could still go get food. Our electricity didn't tend to go out and things like that. Is there a thing, like, we all know, like, we always were prepared to have food and things like that for us in case that we weren't able to or didn't want to get out because the weather was going to be bad for several days in a row. Do you think of, like, when we're talking about last week, we were talking about medications and the whole June 2023 kind of changes that are coming to what over-the-counter medications are available. Is there things like before the winter, Lisa, that you worry about in terms of what the pigs or any animals, any of your farm animals might be more prone to getting in the winter? And just to give you an example, I'm thinking, like, in the summer in the valley of Arizona, we had to worry about the horses getting colic, right? We had to worry about them in that fashion. I'm just wondering, with the winter and these cold temps, do you think there's anything along those lines or the feed lines? You mentioned feeding, and I'd like you to say that again as we talk about this. But is there anything that you think people that aren't accustomed to cold weather maybe might miss? Like, you talked about feeding the pigs multiple times a day. Different. Yeah. You changed up their feeding routine. You probably would make sure you had feed on hand for them just in case you couldn't get it or didn't want to get out on the roads for safety issues.
Yeah. So I think for the most part, that's an all year round thing living in a rural area for us, not necessarily winter specific. We buy a pallet of pig feed at a time because it's cheaper. We just trim their hooves to get, because the girls after being pregnant, I'm assuming it's like pregnancy hormones for people, right? Your nails and your hair grow.
Yeah.
The girls seem to have had an unusual increase in their hoofs growing.
Mm-hmm.
So we trim them for winter, because over
Mm-hmm.
winter they will get long because there's not as
Mm-hmm.
much friction on the ground.
Uh-huh.
But I would say the biggest thing is making sure water is flowing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think the other part of it is just the preparation factor in being ready all the time in a rural area. And
Yeah.
so, like you talked about the June 2023
Mm-hmm.
FDA regulations changing on animal over-the-counter medications. And
Mm-hmm.
since that point, we talked last week, I have eye medication that's arrived.
Mm-hmm.
We have medication that we gave the pigs for both worming and also to deal with the mites they had on their skin.
Uh-huh.
Um, we have a very extensive first aid kit that we built up while the pigs were pregnant,
Mm-hmm.
but we've also built it up over time for the animals in general. I would say
Mm-hmm.
one thing that we do use over the winter the for the chickens
Mm-hmm.
is having bag balm.
Mm-hmm.
I know that sounds so silly, but bag balm is what we rub on our chickens' combs to keep them moisturized, because a moisturized comb is less likely to be frostbitten, and it's medicated.
Ah. Mm-hmm.
Most of the hens will tuck their heads
Mm-hmm.
and they do just fine.
Mm-hmm.
None of the animals are in heated barns
Mm-hmm.
unless there's a concern. And then we would bring them in the garage and
Mm-hmm.
put them in a crate with some heat if somebody was sick. But really, ironically, I think in the summer we have more issues, and that's because you have flies, you have insects, you have worms, whereas
Mm-hmm.
wintertime you're actually getting a break from that stuff. And Milk and Honey said shoes and boots. Well, I mean, we're always going to have shoes and boots even if we're not farming, because
Mm-hmm.
where we live. But
Oh, yeah.
and then, yeah, keeping stocked up more on feed. Absolutely, absolutely. Hey, MB Heritage. um I think we always keep stock up on feed, and that's because we're in a rural area, and we try to go every 2 months and
Mm-hmm.
not have to go back and forth an hour each way. That's the biggest thing. And
Mm-hmm.
we do that all year long.
Mm-hmm.
The only other thing we change, like you said, is the feeding pattern. So the
Mm-hmm.
pigs, if it's really, really cold, so like if we have a day like yesterday, I didn't do it because it was one day.
Yeah.
They're fine.
Mm-hmm.
They snuggle up together, everybody stays warm. But
Mm-hmm.
if we have a prolonged period of below 20 degrees or a wind chill below 20 degrees,
Mm-hmm.
the pigs get fed 3 times a day instead of twice, and that's to keep their internal energy going from the digestion process. See you later, Rob Painless. Thanks
Hi,
for the
Rob.
info. I've got you so I can look into that.
He's got a
And then
great
the
channel.
other thing, oh, cool. And then the other thing is the chickens now get increased to 21% feed versus 16.
Mm-hmm.
Other than, really, it's not that much different. We just tend to have things on hand to begin with.
Yeah.
I wish we could get pallets of chicken feed. We just don't have the storage. Yeah,
Yeah, because
plans
then
for temporary pens.
you got to make sure the rodents don't get to the extra feed if you're getting extra feed and you don't have a
Yep.
secure area.
Yep. Like we bought our hay. We've got our hay on a trailer underneath the
Mm-hmm.
carport because hail season is technically over, so the Dodge can come out.
Mm-hmm.
We had 40 bales of hay that we had on there.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully that'll get us through the majority of the winter.
Mm-hmm.
And then how long does chicken feed last? I mean, I've got 22 in the one barn, and I don't know, every 2 to 3 weeks, I throw a 50-pound bag in. I mean, if I got a pallet of it, it would last because we don't get that hot, especially this time of year. It would be just fine. We don't seem
And
to
it's
have a
dry.
problem.
So it's drier where she lives too, Milk and Honey. So she doesn't have any humidity issues.
And our neighbor has a cat, so I'm going to say that's the reason why we don't see rodents. I've not seen any evidence of rodents, but if I do, we're going to have to figure something out about putting pig feed in containers. But we've been able to keep it on a pallet in the garage, and they're 50-pound bags.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that'll last us months at a time, months and months and months. Like with the coonies, like a year, because they don't have as much grain. I mean, the chicken feed lasts a while as long as you don't, as long as it's not getting wet. You don't have the humidity where it's going to rot and ferment in a bad way. We don't have that problem, but I would imagine if you're in a climate with a lot of humidity, it would be a struggle.
Yeah. Kind of get hit by both. Got to worry about the humidity and the rodents.
Yep, for
Hey,
sure.
Jean.
Hey, Jean. Yeah. I don't know, Charlie. That cat's been doing a good old job. Let me tell you, I've not seen one rodent. And I don't know. I feel bad. That outside cat is spoiled, first of all. Let me just tell you. My neighbor's got a beautiful heated house for it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's basically like an indoor cat.
Yeah. That's a good idea to get a cat and just let it stay outside. I mean, provided that, the wildlife don't get it. Heck, if it gets your rodents and things.
Yeah, I think this cat holds its own. That's why I never complain if he eats the chicken bones out of my garbage bag, because he's doing a good job.
Yeah, I was on a live with Off the Wall Prepper, and he was talking about his cat. And he said that he went out on his front porch and there was blood everywhere. And then he sees his cat and it's coming out of his mouth. And what he thought was he had gotten into it with a raccoon.
Ooh.
And that the cat actually fared well against the raccoon. I thought that was kind of impressive because those raccoons are pretty tough.
Yeah. Some cats can hold their own, let me tell you.
Yeah.
I remember when we looked at this house, the cat was out there, and I was like, oh, it's cold outside for that cat. But then I saw the setup, and the cat's fine. And it doesn't bother our chickens either.
Oh, that's
we've had
awesome.
them free ranging, and the cat's like walking around with them.
Yeah, that's awesome. Does anybody have any questions for us in the chat?
Milk and Honey had a great comment there at 11:49 a.m. Yeah, that was a great comment. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so none of our barns we have several small buildings, and none of them are plumbed, and none of them have electric. So we have, like I said earlier, some solar lighting in there. And, on the few days last year that we had a problem where the outside spigot was frozen, we ended up, it's 5-gallon buckets. We have a utility sink in one of the second bathrooms. So in the second bathroom, we have like a half bath, and Ryan had the smart idea to make it an insulated sink. Insulated. Oh my gosh. This is what happens when you're looking at somebody's comment and you're talking. Milk and Honey was talking about insulated tote. We have a utility sink. And so we fill up the buckets and then have to carry them. But that's why I move everybody closer to the house for winter too.
Yeah.
Because
it's dangerous too.
Yeah. And then that way they're closer to the house and we can get out to them. It's less plowing and all that.
So Charles, yep. I think you meant out in the country. Yep. We got 15 acres here. Pretty excited. It's mostly wooded, which we wanted. We didn't want to have to take care of 15 acres. Farmland, that's a lot of work. But we do like to hunt. So
Well, if hay keeps going up, you'll have some clear cut and have some hay.
mm-hmm.
That'd be
Yeah.
awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there is like a little opening back there in the forest. We're thinking maybe they used it as like a feeding plot for deer.
Mm-hmm.
So we might do something like that. And here's that comment about the insulated tote in the barn.
Mm-hmm. Charlie said fat finger syndrome.
I got that too.
We all do. We all do. Yeah. Yeah, one of the things that we found that has really been helpful is those electric dog bowls.
Uh-huh.
We put them in for the chickens, and they're just easy to fill, easy to clean, and they stay plugged in, and we don't have an issue. So like that, after this live, I'll be going outside, and we have the heated bases, the metal heated bases that get plugged in. We'll be putting them underneath the metal galvanized waterers.
Uh-huh.
The pigs will have a stock tank, and they'll have a stock tank water heater in it. Mm-hmm. Hey, Bland's Promised Land Ranch, welcome in.
Hey there.
And then, so the turkeys will have a heated base. Norman will get an electric dog bowl. The chickens already have it. I left it in there all summer, just not plugged in. And that'll be it. It just works for everybody, and when it gets down to a certain temperature, they just go in. Yeah, I like the nipple drinkers. We use them in the summertime, and I also use them the first winter. And what I found, and I don't know if you have this experience, what I found is that the chickens did not drink near as much water with the nipple drinkers. I'm not opposed to it. I mean, like I said, we have one, and we put a heated element in it. We found that when they had an open bowl of water, they drank a lot more. And the other thing is, nipples for pigs here will freeze, so we can't have it, because it's very confusing to the pigs to go from a nipple drinker in summer to an open water and then go back again, because the nipples will freeze. Mm-hmm. And then the pigs can't get water out of them, even if you have a heated element in there. Monica, wouldn't it be easy to drive? That's awesome. Yeah. We had a 55-gallon one, which had the little dish in it where the pigs are supposed to push their nose on it. My pigs never pushed their nose on it. They just sat there. And I even put peanut butter on it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, because I really like the pig nipple waters. I think they're so much neater. Mm-hmm. But no, yeah, they freeze up. Like yesterday, we had a wind chill of 17 yesterday, and everything was shovel frozen. Bye, Shannon. Have a good day.
Bye, Shannon. Hi, Mike's Fishing Home. You just popped in. We're about ready to close for the day, but thank you for coming in.
Yeah, Little House in the Big Woods. Yep, same here. Have to check them. That's what we do. In fact, that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to hook up electric, though, because we're going to be cold until June.
Right?
Yeah, pour hot water on the nipples. Absolutely. I've heard of that too. That's an excellent idea. Yeah, I'm not opposed to it at all. I really wish I could use them. They freeze. Mm-hmm. If I was in an hour from here in Rapid City, I might not have to worry about it. But here I do all the time. Mm-hmm. Yep. Absolutely, Monica. Everybody's got a different experience. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
She said it's here.
It's a shivering 65 degrees in Texas.
What's funny, Monica, when we lived in the valley, that's how we felt about it too. If it got cold, we were so accustomed to Phoenix area temperatures of 100 plus, right?
Yeah.
So if it got down to 65, we were all cold.
It was like 66, 68 in on Sunday, and I was like, ooh, yeah, I'm wearing a hoodie too, Monica.
Yeah. Hoodies are cozy.
I think it's
Hey, Callie
important.
King 916.
I think it's important to find out what works for you. I mean, this is
Yeah.
going to be our third winter. I'm trying to, yeah, third, fourth, something like that. Anyway, and it's working. We've got to sit. Last year we perfected our system, and it's working really well. And so that's the biggest thing. And I think what gets harder, right, is as you figure it out and you expand, or for us anyway, on our little system, our one extension cord, one of the things we use is outdoor, obviously heavy duty extension cords. And what they do is they lock together, and you have to push a button to separate them.
Yeah.
Right. And we do that because we want to make sure we don't have an extension cord mishap. We also have, and I forget the right name for it, Ryan will probably yell it over to me, a short cord that's got a breaker, basically. Hold on a minute. What is it? GFI. Lisa's using technical terms here. We have a short extension cord that is a GFI.
Okay.
So that way the breaker will blow, or it'll shut the power off to it before we have an issue. That's the whole point of it.
Yeah.
And we do that because we don't want anything burning down. And at the same time, we want to be able to have everybody's water working good. So we'll be changing everything today. And yeah, all different ideas may or may not help. Absolutely. Yeah. Everybody's in a different position, In fact, one of the things is, they talk about stock tanks in the summertime. When I can't use the stock tank in the summertime because it's a waste of water for us. It turns green. And so I bought enzyme tablets to put in there. It's mostly in the shade. Didn't help.
Do you try fish?
I have not.
That's what a lot of people in Arizona would do with those big tanks. They'd put fish in them.
Yeah. And then what was the other thing? Copper piping. The copper piping helped the most slow it down. But we just learned that in the summertime, we don't need a stock tank for the pigs. I know, Kelzheim. I think it was just better for us to use those 16-quart tire feeders for water, because in the summertime, all they're doing, those pigs, is putting their dirty faces in them, and they get water all the time. You know what I mean? Whereas,
yeah.
And I will do that. Yeah, they disappeared. I think my pigs would eat the fish too. That's what I've been thinking. What were you watering out of your stock tank with fish where they disappeared? Was it cows? But yeah, Stina told her to do it. I know. I want to do that too. I like the small. In the summertime, it just makes sense because you're cleaning water bowls all the time. But in the wintertime, because it's colder, we don't need to change the water out as much. Ours destroy everything. What kind of pigs do you have? You probably have the big ones like the Berkshires. I really loved, I think it's Tough Stuff. They're a molded plastic pig waterer, and it's a feeder, actually, 16 quart, and they go right in the top in a regular passenger tire. Okay, cows and horses. Well, they apparently ate well.
Or they had a bigger bird that came down.
Duroc, yeah. Well, it's Duroc and Berkshire and all of them. You gotta really push that stuff down, or they'll knock them out of the woods. We have the Coonies, and believe it or not, they love to knock their water all over the place. But crazy. Yeah, we had Mangalitsa, Duroc, and Berkshire crosses that we raised and loved them. Now we're raising Norman.
Aww.
He's a football.
Aww. I cannot wait until next season. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it'll be good to compare him with the other
Yeah.
commercial hogs. I know I was talking to Monica about that.
Mm-hmm.
And Monica, you missed it. I was giving you credit for the expandable hose earlier.
Does anybody have any questions with us before we end the live? This has been awesome, Lisa. I really enjoyed this conversation.
Me too. Monica says, "Oh, yay." Okay. Looks like Little House in the Big Woods has a question. Gear Gryden. What would you like to talk about for the next hour, Gear Gryden? I had a sheep, first time mom left for dead. Oh. What happened?
Aw.
That's awful.
So the mom only had one sheep, so she only had one lamb. I don't know. When she says that, I kind of think back to when.
Oh. She left the babies for dead, first time mom. Hey, Shadow Scout Swede.
She's probably going to need supervision. Hey, Shadow Scout Swede. Hope all is well in Sweden.
2 babies. Oh, so she had 2 babies and she left them. First time mom.
I would say now you know. And you're going to have to watch her closely. Boy, and be prepared to have to step in, because what else can you do?
Get a new mama. That's what Monica would tell you.
Yeah.
You know, it's what a lot of people will tell you is, it's time for a new mama. And, that's something we have to look at. And I don't want to. I'll admit it.
Yeah.
Fiona was not as good a mom as Eleanor. That's the reality. And if she was on Monica's farm, she'd probably be moving along. Pen her if you don't get rid of her. So we'll have to look at Fiona. That's one thing we were talking about, is just looking at Fiona and breeding her again this year and seeing how it goes. And if it's not good, then it'll be time to move on.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Maybe that's a good topic for next week.
Yeah. I like that plan. We'll do that for next time.
I like the 3 strikes. I think we'll do 2. Oh, and she had them out in the rain. Oh, yeah. Well, of course. Gosh. Yeah, the 3 strikes is a good rule, Monica. But yeah, I mean, it is. It's you're looking at investment when you're breeding and all that stuff.
Yep.
Yes, it is. Milk and honey. Absolutely. More times than not is the truth, right?
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for popping in.
Yeah, thanks for being here, guys. Well, next week, what are you thinking, Tammy? Do you want to give it some thought, or you want to?
I would love to continue the discussion and talk about breeding animals and some of the things that we prepare for when we know that's going to happen, and talk about some of the challenges that we run into. I think that would be a really great topic to discuss.
What do you guys think? Is that something you'd be interested in? And I just want to look at Gear Gryden. Exactly. And yeah, Little House in the Big Woods. I agree. We had some first babies from our pigs this year that just didn't go the way we expected. So yeah, so let's maybe continue the conversation next week. Well, I'd love to learn about turkeys.
Yeah.
Well, I'll have to think about that for the Homesteading Academy.
Yes. That would
Thank
be.
you. Yeah, I have bourbon red turkey, so I will think about that.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody, for coming in. Enjoyed the chat today. We will be back here on the Mountain Grandma channel next week on Tuesday at 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time and noon Central Time. So hope y'all will join us, and I hope you have a good rest of your week. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Take care.